I am a proponent of Viking travel to North America and indeed into its interior along the Great Lakes. I visited Wisconsin. I wrote a book about it. I'm no longer working on the project for various reasons, but I do think that the Kensington Runestone, which is 200 miles west of the location in Wisconsin, the Runestone is valid. I'm not endorsing a particular researcher's work in this. I'm simply looking at the stone myself based on what I have learned in my 20 years of looking at stonemason marks, medieval fortresses, structures, castles, you name it, here in the UK and in France. I do think that it is simplistic, myopic, and inaccurate to state that the Kensington Runestone is a fake. There's far, far, far in the way of evidence to suggest that it is real. I'm going to share a clip with you for a few reasons. I want you to hear experts in their field discuss the plausibility, probability of Vikings in North America far earlier than Christopher Columbus 1492. It is my theory, I'm not the only one, that the Vikings gifted their technology to their descendants, the Normans. And in that part of northern France, where you have the birth of Bernard de Clairvaux, a main mastermind behind the Knights Templar, you have Norse knowledge and DNA. I will let this film clip speak for itself. I will not delve into the entire theory in this film clip, but this will be explored in greater depth in the upcoming book that I'm working on, which has been pushed out yet again into, unfortunately, late fall and hopefully ready for the Christmas season, for solstice. I plan to bring to you evidence in my book as to why it's probable the Vikings and their later descendants, the Templars, were in North America and were repeatedly visiting Oak Island over centuries. Enjoy the film clip and hear these people's voices, these educated, intelligent, academic voices as to why it is possible and had been achieved. And I am sure that over time, more and more evidence will mount in support of this theory.
The Vikings went almost everywhere in Europe. They went east to Russia, to Ukraine. They went west. They settled in Holland, famously in Normandy. A lot of Vikings settled in the British Isles. They also settled further west. They settled on whatever islands they could find in the North Atlantic. And that includes the Faroes, the Shetlands, Iceland, Greenland, and also the exciting Vinland, which is somewhere in North America. Scandinavia in the early Middle Ages was, I think, a somewhat difficult place to live in. I mean, the climate was essentially the same as it is today. That meant also that there were a lot of people who did not necessarily have very good chances of living a good life at home in Scandinavia.
Since the dawn of mankind, Humans have always explored new territories, often out of necessity, but also in search of adventure and a better life.
It was definitely some excitement, and also you are what you do, based on how you live your life. A lot of Vikings, they thought this way, that you are what you do in life and you have to make the most of it, because you live for your family and your honor, and that's what people remember you by.
Vikings are often talked about as explorers, great explorers as well, and there is some truth to that. They were out looking for opportunities here and there. But we should also remember that when they discover something, it's usually for another reason. If you think about Russia, the Scandinavians got very far into Russia. But it's also very clear that they did that because they went there with a specific purpose, to get fur.
There is debate whether the descendants of the Vikings continue to cross over the Atlantic Ocean after the Viking Age ended in the 11th century. According to Alice Kehoe, the fur trade could have been a reason for the Norse to keep coming back to North America over the next few centuries.
The Canadian fur trade was a major part of the global economy from the beginning of Vinland and the Greenland settlements. From the year 1000, the Greenland settlements needed to have iron, tools, weapons, all kinds of supplies from the homeland. You can't get in Greenland. Every year, ship sails from Norway to Greenland, bringing all kinds of European manufacturers. And the Greenland Norse, they have to pay for this. How do they pay? They pay with the profits from the hunt. They go over to the Canadians, say. They hunt themselves to make sure they have the furs and the walrus, that they will be able to pay for that ship. So this is critical from 1000 on into the 1450s.
This theory made sense, and Alice believes that the fur trade was exactly what would have brought a group of Norsemen to Kensington, Minnesota in 1362.
My most parsimonious, the simplest explanation, 1361, one of those aristocrats who had been capitalizing fur trade into the Russian north and down into Constantinople. He knows, everybody in Scandinavia knows, luxury furs are coming in that ship from Greenland. There's luxury furs out there. Not going to get any furs from that one and only ship. So he organizes an expedition of experienced men. He provides them with what they need in the way of weapons, axes, and all that kind of stuff. He arranges for them to sail over to Finland, and their goal is to find where those luxury furs are coming from west of Finland and try to corner that market.
So from the western fjords of Norway, it took 5 days to sail to Iceland 1,000 years ago. It still does today. And if you wanted to go onwards to western Greenland, it took another 5 days. And from there down to Newfoundland, it's about the same distance, so it takes another 5 days to go there, and still does today. So 15 sailing days total. That's not far, really. It's not much if you're a sailor. Not at all. So this travel back and forth there between present-day Canada and Greenland did apparently go on for a few centuries. It's a little bit difficult to say, of course, how often they went and how many times they went back and forth. We need more proof. We do know that in the 14th century, the year 1347, a ship missed and came off course going back to Greenland and ended up on Iceland. And they have brought timber. If you had the means and if you had the possibility to trade a lot, and if you met indigenous populations, Native Americans, who were eager to trade with you, and then you would come back and trade more as soon as possible. They were entrepreneurs.
Thank you for watching the film clip with me. I'm very much looking forward to June, when documentary filmmaker Lucas and Tony will be joining me here in England to discuss these matters of international travel with Vikings, the Knights Templar, and also including the work of Zena Halpern and her very controversial and special map of Oak Island. Thank you. Respect yourself, respect others. Take care.